something. It is not cheap. So you're getting hundreds of dollars worth of merchandise and just cutting out the swoosh for what? For what?
Right.
Like that
Right.
that is crazy. But why do you think some Americans are so angry over this? Like where do you think this anger is coming from to the point where they feel like they need to film themselves burning their clothes?
I think it all goes back to the culture that we're in and have been in since the 2016 campaign, where it's become more polarized. The country's become more polarized, and everything is heightened. Everything is heightened. Everything is it's just that culture. I mean, when you look to the top of the top of the land of the free and the home of the brave, and you got the top official, the president, who says things that's just so outlandish and off the cuff about people. It just makes it okay for anybody else to say it. I mean, in their mind, like, well, the president called them crooks. Why can't I call them crooks? The president called, when you got the president coming on saying, wouldn't you like to see the NFL owners just tell them if they don't want to stand up for the anthem to throw the bums out? I mean, he used other language, but
crazy.
Would you like to say you're fired? I mean, it's just that I think a lot of that that kind of hate speech and things close to that confrontational, all the time, kind of in your face kind of speech that does not foster community in any way, or coming together in any way. So the polarization stands. You got people. There used to be a time when you look at the news, you only had 3 stations, and everybody was kind of just reporting the news and kind of trying to enlighten people. But now you've got people trying to seize your attention.
Yep.
And now you've got left-wing news stations and right-wing news stations, and they're polar opposites in what they're reporting. Yeah. So you never have to hear anybody else's side. Right. And you don't ever have to hear the other person's side if you don't want to.
Right.
So you're watching where you're getting your information from, whether it's left or right. You're hearing people who think just like you do, and it's reaffirming what it is. You're standing stronger in your stance about whatever you believe about, in this particular case, Colin Kaepernick or not, or Nike or not, and you never have to hear another side. And so you just go off half-cocked with whatever it is that you believe, and then you cite your own little pundits from your little corner of the TV world, and 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 then when the two meet, when you come out in public and there's this stance, and they come in public in football games, you got both people, Democrats and Republicans, black and white, all the polarizing, the opposite ends of the spectrum come together at events like football games and protests and things like that, and that's where things kind of tend to come to a head. So I think, in the answer to your question, it's been the culture for the past couple of years, to just no one's trying to come together. Everyone's right, and whoever doesn't agree with me is an idiot kind of talk.
Yep.
It's crazy.
And that's very, very unfortunate, because ultimately this sort of radical activity that the world has been seeing from us, stemming from our politics, ultimately it's only going to be solved by unity. And the scary part about it is at some point we are going to unite, but my fear is that it's going to take something completely crazy for that to happen. And, it's also interesting because in my history class, we've actually been studying, these these recent things that have been happening, and we've also been looking at the behaviors of past presidents. And it really wasn't until this presidency that you actually saw your president personally speaking out against brands like this. Like, it's crazy. Like, so it's not only, these specifically people who follow our president, the Trump supporters. It's like they can already have this idea about Nike and about Kaepernick from these, I'm gonna go ahead and assume, right-wing news stations, because from the get-go they really haven't been supporting this movement. And then it's like, you're already getting revved up watching it from the news. And then now the president is on the record saying, oh, Nike is so disgraceful, and the NFL, and that's why their ratings are going to go down, and I'm not going to watch, so nobody should watch. And it's like, it's very interesting, because it's almost like in America, there has, I'm not going to say never been, but it's been a very, very long time since you've seen a president single-handedly try to veer Americans in seeing a certain way. And that's very, very interesting, because aside from what he feels about it, Nike is one of the most flourishing American brands. NFL is one of the most flourishing American sports watched on television. So even if you think that, what Kaepernick is doing is wrong, or what Nike is doing is wrong, as the leader of this country who claims that you want to see these businesses, these American-grown businesses grow, why would you try to hinder those businesses by speaking out against them like that? That's really, really interesting. But, on the other hand, do you think that there will be other companies that will follow in Nike's lead, in the sense that they're going to be like, you know what? We're kind of for the people, so we're gonna step out and throw our views out there. Like, do you think that this will cause other companies to follow, or do you think this is gonna cause other companies to kind of be like, ooh, they're getting a lot of backlash? I don't know.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I'd love to see that happen, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of other companies that could do something like that would make.
As big
that would make a statement, a huge statement.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Would they do that? I think they're going to sit back and kind of watch what happens and see where the conversation goes. It'll be interesting, because I'm trying to think in my head of who else would do something like that. I can think of some companies who I'd like to see. It'd be nice if Apple were to do something like that.
Man.
Somebody huge like that.
Because I doubt you'll see people breaking their computers.
Right. Yeah. Will you blow up will you smash your iPhone up, or
right?
What are you gonna do then?
Right.
But yeah, and in those cases, they're gonna have to go back and get another phone,
right?
Or something like that. But that's the craziest part. As you said, people burning up their clothes, tearing up. I'm sure folks at Nike are looking at. You see these guys? We've already got the money for this. They've already paid for it, so we've already made our money. And then you're burning it up, and we're getting the publicity of you burning it up. So
right.
It'll be interesting. I don't know. I'm hopeful, and I'd like to see other companies do that for any number of reasons. But first of all, it lengthens the conversation. It ensures that the conversation continues with each company that does. But at the same time, Nike, I'm sure they probably knew that it would be some backlash, and to your point of them probably knowing for some time that they were going to use Colin Kaepernick, they anticipated backlash, which is the whole reason that they would hold it back in the first place.
Right.
But at the same time, again, this isn't their he isn't the sole person. You know, he's going to be the lightning rod, but he isn't the sole person. And this is not something that they've not done with hundreds of other athletes throughout their history. So, you know, Serena Williams is part of it. Hundreds of athletes who are a part of this as well. So I think Nike is going to, you know, can act as if, you know what, we've been doing this all along. He's not the first athlete. This is what we're doing. Yeah. And as far as from an athletic perspective, there's not an athlete out there right now. I mean, there were years and years ago, but right now there's no athlete who sacrificed or risked losing everything, like from an athletic standpoint, everything they were able to do.
Right.
For just everything and certainly not for a cause. And he has done this. So we'll see where it goes from here. I'll be watching. You know, it'll be interesting to see.
Well, one thing that I wanted to ask, because we have, you know, our fill-in engineer here, and he plays football. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is, do you think seeing all this hype around Kaepernick and, you know, the NFL and, you know, now Kaepernick is basically going to sue the NFL for collusion and all this stuff. But do you think that this entire situation or mess, if you will push more athletes into speaking up? Or do you think they're going to try to sort of blend as much as possible? Because, you know, now, even though Kaepernick did lose a lot, now people see that regardless of if you agreed or not, it definitely sparked a conversation. It definitely made its mark. And he's now setting his sights on getting the NFL on these collusion charges from the protests, which is basically challenging the principle of free speech and free protest. And now Nike basically sent a message to one of the people who they work with, saying like, okay, you guys don't have to like him, but he stands up for something bigger and we want him. So how do you think, you know, these future up and coming star athletes who are also suffering from all of the things going on in America will act because of this? Do you think they're going to be more hush-hush, or do you think they're going to try and join Kaepernick in speaking out, but maybe in a different way?
I believe that, you know, being a young athlete, it's our job and our duty, because we have that stage and that presence for younger athletes to set an example. So I agree with the sense of, I believe that there's going to be way more protests to come, because even when Colin Kaepernick was in the NFL, you would see other people from different teams taking a knee. You would see other people locking arms. Like one time, I think the Steelers didn't even come out the locker room for the national anthem. You know, I believe that Colin Kaepernick was, you know, the first domino to start a movement and start a wave so that everyone else could, you know, follow in his footsteps. And I believe that it is a big deal to stand up for what you believe in, regardless of, you know, who's in charge and who's in power. No matter whether it's the president, no matter whether it's your commissioner. You know, I always grew up with the principles. You always stand up for what you believe in. You fight for what you believe in. Because if you don't have anything to believe in, you'll fall for anything. If you have nothing to stand for, you'll fall for anything. So I believe that there's a lot more protests to come.
All right. Interesting. All right. Well, I think that it is time for a break. But as we go to break, here's something to think about. What label was given to Kaepernick for kneeling during the anthem in the first place? Unpatriotic. What label was given to the Charlottesville protesters carrying torches? I believe someone said they were fine people. That type of commentary is not helpful. Who will be the adult in the room with the courage to bring America to the table to work this out?